Welcome. And hi, David. Good to see you.
Oh, David,
Hello.
great.
And we're doing Torah Temimah this morning, and because it's Sunday, at
Yep.
least. All right. So we really are moving quite a bit in Genesis. We actually are, can you believe it or not, chapter 6. And this is anticipating and just bringing us to the time of Noah. So at any rate, we had read the last time about some of the behavior of human beings, etc. Remember, we talked about the lex prima noctis and things like that, just really awful stuff going on. And so we have this verse where it says, I don't think I did our bracha. So, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Amen.
Thank you. Vayomer Hashem. So Hashem said, the Lord said, Lo yadon ruchi. My spirit will no longer strive. It can also be from the word ledin. We'll see that. In other words, judge. Ba'adam, amongst man. Otherwise, it says, my spirit will no longer strive with man, with humans, right? And that's it. I guess that's right. Yep, that's it for the one. Okay, here we go. In the sorry, of course, we're still in the text. Olam forever. Beshagam hu basar, inasmuch as he is of flesh. V'hayu yamav, and his days shall be, or his days were, me'av esrim shana, 120 years. So it's limiting the life of human beings so that they can do less damage, is what it feels like to me. It's damage control. But we're going to look into this with Torah Temimah. So, Lo Yadon Ruchi, my spirit, you could simply say, I will no longer strive, I will no longer judge, etc. Tanu Rabbanan, our rabbis taught. Dor Hamabul, with regards to the generation of the flood, Noah's generation, Ein lahem chelek leolam haba, right? They do not have a portion in the world to come. In other words, there will be no afterlife for them. Ve'ein umdim badin, and they will not stand to be judged. So the vision of end times is that there is resurrection, that human beings are resurrected and then are judged at that particular time, and then a decision will be made as to whether they will achieve the next world or whether they will not. But so they're not even going to be standing in judgment. Right? Shene'emar, as it states, Lo yidon ruchi, right? I will no longer, my spirit will no longer strive or judge. Lo din. So here we go. There's the lo din. They will not have a judgment. Velo ruach, and they will no longer experience in other words, they will no longer have a ruach, a spirit, to experience the afterlife. And this is a quotation from Tractate Sanhedrin, the last chapter that talks about Chelek Lo'olam Haba, and it talks about the afterworld, the world to come, I should say. So let's take a look here as to where we are here. We're looking for Gimel, and that's right over here. Ha'amada Badin. So he says, the standing up to be judged, right? Hu achar tchiat hametim. That takes place after resurrection, the life of the dead. V'darish hamilah, and he expounds or he interprets the word behemshech al yedon ve'al ruchi, on on each word, right, or just on the fact that it says yidon ruchi. He says he explains each word al yidon regarding the word yidon and on the word Ruchi. In other words, he will not go into, God will not deal with either of these things. Veritzono lomar, and what he's trying to say is, lo yidon velo ruchi, right? Neither yidon and not ruchi. That is to say, right, he's not going to be judged, and he will not have, if we want to translate this as my spirit, meaning the spirit of immortality. Shelo yehe nidon ruchi, right? Shinatati ba'adam, right? I will not, my ruach, my spirit, will not be judged. Shinatati ba'adam, which I have had placed in humans, shel dor zeh, of this particular generation, le'olmei almad, for eternity, in perpetuity. Tahainu la'achar tchiat hamitim, that is to say, after resurrection. So, just trying to parse out this verse in terms of understanding as to what it really means. So, le'olam, in this case it means never, right? Shelo tehei nishmatan chozeret lenadna, I think it's going to be, or nidnehem, if this little mark there that you can see, that little apostrophe is actually part of it, right? But what it does mean is that their souls will not return to their bodies. And Jastrow, the dictionary Jastrow, actually refers to this entire phrase. Let's take a look. Here we are. Oh, no, sorry. That is lenidna. This little line there is actually part of a dalet. I'm going to move this away, and you'll see that that actually refers to a dalet. Gam ze lashon matzinu, okay? Militzi. Gam ze lashon militzi. This is also a metaphoric expression. Hamoreh, that indicates al nitzchiyut, regarding the eternal avidatam, annihilation. In other words, nitzchiyut avidatam means the perpetual annihilation, the complete annihilation, uchid vidrasha hakodemet, just as we mentioned in the previous explanation. Okay. Beshegam hu basar. So this term bishagam is an unusual form of the word. And he's going to tell you that it really feels like a contraction of ba'asher hu gam, that it's maybe a contraction of three different words. We'll see how he deals with it. Sha'alo paponai l'Rav Matana. So this sounds like some Roman, possibly individual. Paponai asked Rav Matana, Remez leMoshe min haTorah minayin. Where is there an allusion to Moses in the Torah? Well, obviously it's more than allusions. Moses mentioned specifically, but as he's going to say, as Torah Temimah is going to say, really, it's probably Genesis is what he means. Where is there an allusion to Moses in Genesis? Amar laho, so Rav Matana said to him, Veshegam hu basar, in that phrase, Veshagam hu basar. And we're going to see how this actually works out. So right now, of course, it's mystifying, but Torah Temimah is going to help us solve the mystery. So, Piresh Rashi says, Rashi explains, Vazelashono, and this is, I'm going to quote him, he says, right, this is his language, Minayin leMoshe Remes Kodem, where for Moses, where can we find Moses, an allusion, an early allusion to Moses, Sheba Shesofo Lavo, right? Kodem Sheba so for labor. How do we find an allusion to Moses before he appears that in fact he will come? How do we know that from the Torah? So the answer is that Beshagam, that is the numerical value of Beshagam, 2, 300, 302, 305, this is a 3, right? And 300 and, yes, 45, right? Sorry, no, sorry, right. That actually is 65, if I'm not, let me make sure I've got this correctly. So this is 3. Oh, gam. This is a gam. It's not a samach, right? Mem is 40. So it's 345, right? That word, bishagam. If you look at the numerical values of the letters, it adds up to 345. Begematria Moshe. It has the equivalent numerical value as Moshe. Mem is 40, Shin is 300, and Hey is 5. So Bishagam and Moshe both have the value of 345. And here, of course, we are talking about remez. We're talking about an illusion, right? It's not pshat, it's not drash, it's remez, right? So gematrias are what are considered remazim. Uchtiv sham, but not only that, it also is written, V'hayum yamav me'av esrim. It says his days will be 120 shana, his years, that he's going to live 120 years. V'kach hayu yamei chayei Moshe. And of course we know that's exactly how long Moses lived. He also lived to 120. So we have even a little bit of support for this allusion in the actual language of the text itself. Klomar, that is to say, atid lavo in the future, beshegam Moshe min hanoldin, right? In the fact that Moses is one of those who will be born, v'kach yamav, and so are his years. So, ad kan lashono, and that's the end of the quote from Rashi. For Adain, go ahead, sorry.
Sorry.
Yep.
So we shot the simple.
Yes, straightforward meaning. Pshat is the literal meaning, right?
Yes.
Drash is the more literary, elusive, metaphoric. It takes into account metaphoric meaning. And remez is even more further away from the pshat in the fact that we're talking now about numerical values of letters and things like that. Yes.
Is that all that's remez is gematria?
No, I think there are other ways. So, for example, so if you look at the last letters of the first 3 words of the Torah, Bereshit, Bara, Elohim, you find the last letter of Bereshit is a Taf, the last letter of Bara is an Aleph, and the last letter of Elohim is a Mem. And if you mix it a little bit, what do you get? You get Emet, right? So the idea that the Torah is the truth. So you can use those kinds of allusions as well, right? Of the first or last letters of a word, of words that follow each other. But there's an example of another kind of remez. And in fact, there is a commentator known as Baal HaTurim, whose entire commentary actually is remez, a kind of remez in the Torah. So he brings that out.
And then sod.
And go ahead.
And then sod.
Right. So sod exactly, I'm not sure. I can't define it as well. And it's possible that when you read the Zohar, that's where you find things like sod. All right. But like another example of remez is anagrams. That is, so you can take the word Bereshit, that very first word, right? And you can mix it up and you can come up with Shit Bara, right? Which would mean 6 he created. In other words, the fact that he created 6, right? There are others as well. I'm trying to think of, without sort of without sort of writing it down and messing around with it. But one of my favorites is that if you again use the word Bereshit as an anagram, you can come up with Aleph B'Tishrei, the first of Tishrei, which of course is, according to one tradition, when the world was created. So, but there's several, and those you find in the Balaturim. Balaturim actually gives you a whole bunch of them that come out of mixing the letters of the word Bereshit. All right. So yeah, but sod, I don't recollect any sodot that I've come across. So. V'adayin ha'inyan mechusa bi'ur. He says, but there's still, stuff missing from explaining this particular drash, right? V'yitachen, and it would appear, shekav kivnu b'she'elatam, that what they intended in this question, lama shekatvu chachmei ha'emet, referring to what I believe chachmei ha'emet probably are scholars, I'm going to assume, okay? That, and I think Chachmei Emet refers to mystics, right? I think that's what he's referring to. Something that mystics wrote, Deshem Kol Adam, that the name of every person, Merumaz Batorah. There is some allusion to every single individual, that their names are somehow alluded to in the Torah. Ukemuva Besefer Hadorot Betoldot Ramban, and he says this can be found in a book called Sefer Hadorot, the book of the generations, Betoldot Ramban. Now, Toldot can mean the history, but I'm wondering if there's a book or maybe that's Sefer Hadorot, since it means the book of the generations. And of course, I'm not familiar with this at all, right? But we're in the Sefer Hadorot, they're talking about the Ramban's history, right? So there might be, the way this book may be arranged is according to various personalities in over the generations. And there's an entry regarding the Ramban, Nachmanides, and somehow this particular point is raised in that particular entry. That is speculation on my part. I'm just guessing, but I'm trying to make sense of it. Okay. Ukamor shekatvu ha'acharonim, and similarly to what the acharonim are those scholars of Jewish law, etc., who follow the compiling of the Shulchan Aruch. So that takes us all into this generation as well. We're known as Acharonim. And there's a division of the generations into various epochs, you could say, since the giving of the Torah at Mount Sinai. And the understanding, of course, is that the further away we get in time from the giving of the Torah, the less deep is our understanding of Torah. But still, I mean, even though we study it, but we don't consider ourselves as improving in our understanding, we feel that we're struggling a little harder to understand. At any rate, amongst this Acharonim, it says, B'Shem Hagra, in the name of this Gaon Rabbi Eliezer, we're talking about the Vilna Gaon. So in the name of the Vilna Gaon, it states, Mihagra mi Vilna, there it is, right? Gaon Rabbi Eliezer mi Vilna. Right? Vezehu, and that is, Shesha'alu Efo Merumaz Shem Moshe Batorah, that it says, where is the name Moses alluded to in the Torah? Ve'ulai kivnu l'sefer Bereshit. And it's possible that they weren't referring to the Torah, the entire Torah, they were referring to the book of Genesis. Veheshiv Rav Matana, and Rav Matana responded, Kemevu'ar al pi Piresh Rashi, as is explained by Rashi, as Rashi explains in his explanation. V'yesh lomar, and one could go on to say, Od, de diyek lidrosh hamilah beshagam, that the reason why he picked out this word beshagam for a drash, right, for an interpretation, right? Why this mela? Why this word? Mipnei shekitzera or ketzerahi, because it's an elision. It's right. It's a different form. It's a form of elision. Uva b'makom, and it's there in the place of ba'asher gam. In other words, b'shegam is a contraction of two words ba'asher gam. So ba'asher, inasmuch, gam as well, right? That indeed he is something that, inasmuch as. V'regilin Chazal, and our sages of blessed memory were of the practice, lidrosh kol milah mitzuyenet, and that they would find an interpretation of any distinguished, standing out word, b'Tanakh, in the Bible, kamo es shehuchachnu, as we've proved, this is talking about himself right now, as we've proved, kama pamim b'chavorenu, several times already in our essay, right, in this Chibur. Okay. I might try and go a little, unless if anybody has any questions, given the time we are, or else I can just plunge into the next one just to begin with anyway. Any hands up or whatever? Okay, let me just do this quickly. It's not going to be quick. It's a major piece here, but we can begin it. All right. Me'av esrim shana, 120 years. V'ha-karov le'elef shana chai Adam Arishon. He says, wait a second. You said, and that for that reason, man only lived to 120 years. He says, but wait a second. Adam, right, the first man, lived very close to 1,000 years. Ve'at amrat, and you say, v'hayu yamav me'av esrim, and his days were only 120 years. Ela leme'a ve'esrim shana hu, Ela leme'a ve'esrim shana hu chozer letarud echad rekev. What it is saying is that after he dies, after 120 years, he returns entirely to a spoon. He becomes a rotted spoonful of his dust. That is to say, after 120 years, his remains are simply become dust, and a spoonful of dust at that. And that's what it means by 120 years. It doesn't mean the lifespan is 120 years. It means after that he no longer exists in any physical form after 120 years, after his passing. And we will stop here, and I will mark that we will begin next time with this. So I'm going to just take this and bring it down to here. Okay, right there. And I'm going to stop the share. All right. Any thoughts, any comments before that is for the record. Harlan?
Yeah, I was wondering about resurrection and the world to come. Mm-hmm. When we die, where do we go on the world to come? I mean, is it a world of people that are dead or what? I don't understand.
Yeah, no, it's a great question, Harlan. It's not really clear as far as I know, because they do talk about a world of souls. That is to say, there are descriptions of what happens after a person dies, and that what happens in the journey of the soul following a person's death, right? And how long and the various stages of that journey. But there's also a belief that at some point there is actually going to be a physical resurrection. At least that's what it sounds like. That in fact there will be a physical resurrection, at which point every human being is going to be judged. This is actually based on biblical material. I believe that if you look at the very last chapter of the book of Daniel, you'll find something that describes this. And it's at that point that people's fate is fully, given as to what their future will be. So I don't think that necessarily that physical life returns or that it returns in perpetuity. But apparently, and there's discussion about this as to why it's important to be in a physical state when we are finally judged. And of course, you've heard the term final judgment, and that is referring to this particular time that is mentioned in the end of Daniel.
On resurrection, who gets the resurrection? I don't understand resurrection.
Resurrection means that you basically rise from the grave. That's what essentially it means.
In a physical form?
In a physical form, yes, in a physical form. David?
Is our soul to enter our body when we do that?
Yes, we are once again conscious beings. Yes.
So when will this happen?
At the end of days. In God's time. Yes.
We don't know the end of day then.
No, we don't. We don't have that date. So, David, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, but didn't it say somewhere in the passage though that they won't be that some won't be judged, and
Correct.
They're part of that as well, right? So some people won't actually be judged or given the opportunity for resurrection. Correct? I mean,
that is what this is saying. It's saying specifically about the generation of the flood will not be given that opportunity. But again, if I want to take a step from that and say, what is the point of this? Is trying to say to us, not to take for granted, that we are going to be immortal.
Well, right? Yeah, that's what that makes sense. Yeah. So, okay, so the generation of the flood is just an example. We meaning that, we're not guaranteed that opportunity, and so okay.
We have that opportunity, but we're not guaranteed. Correct.
Yep.
That's in our hands. Yes. Harlan, did you want to follow up with anything else?
I want to say about Moses is living 120 years. Yes. What is this mathematical thing of 340 and so forth?
Okay. That is simply the value of the letters that comprise his name. So his name in Hebrew is spelled Mem, Shin, He. That's how you spell the word Moses. Mem is worth 40. That's the numerical value of Mem, of Moshe. So that's 40. Shin is 300, so 340. And He is 5. So Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, He.
So
345, right?
Oh.
And the word Beshegam, right, is also 345.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, it is. And it's an illusion. Nobody's suggesting that this is the direct meaning of that sentence by any means, but that it is suggested, right? It's a suggestion. That's what it is. Okay. Go ahead. All right, I'm going to stop the recording.